Hello everyone, my name's Doc. The Game of the Year awards for 2024 are right around the corner, only one more week, and things are spicy. There's been a lot of heated discussion revolving around games like Balatro and Wukong, but no title has seen more controversy this year than Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Released in June of this year, Shadow of the Erdtree was a phenomenal DLC that tasked us with exploring a new map and fighting our way through several new and some familiar bosses. Between Elden Ring, Destiny 2, and The Elder Scrolls Online, I won't lie, your favorite healer had a busy summer. But I did still fully complete Shadow of the Erdtree not too terribly long after it was released. Now, half a year later, it was nominated for a Game of the Year award. This has obviously led to a little bit of pushback, and the question on everyone's mind is, will it win? Should it win? Should it have even been nominated to begin with? Well, I'll go ahead and give you my short answer now. No, I honestly don't think it'll win. My money is personally on Wukong, but I wouldn't be surprised if Balatro takes it. Okay, now on to the longer version. Let's first start by talking about whether it should have been nominated or not to begin with, because that's been probably the biggest point of contention. I don't really have a super firm opinion on this, so I'd rather just kind of analyze each side's arguments and just kind of let everyone come to their own conclusions. So on the side of yes, it deserves the nomination, I've seen a few common arguments. The first is the idea that Shadow of the Erdtree delivers enough high-quality original content to qualify as its own game. I do think that this has a little bit of merit to it, as one of the most common things I've seen said about Shadow of the Erdtree is that it feels more like a sequel to Elden Ring rather than a DLC. FromSoft did seem to put a lot of care, passion, and effort into making this DLC something worthy of that discussion. Of course, the counter-argument to this is that regardless of player feelings towards it, Shadow of the Erdtree is still a DLC, not a new game. Continuing on the side of yes, it deserves the nomination, is the argument that if Shadow of the Erdtree, a DLC, can beat actual games for Game of the Year, then maybe it deserves that award. This point also does have some merit to it, as a DLC, in theory, shouldn't be able to beat other games at Game of the Year, regardless of whether or not it's allowed to be nominated or not. If a DLC is viewed as better than fully developed games, then maybe it does deserve that nomination. But then we also have the other side, who argues against Shadow of the Erdtree's nomination. In terms of those arguments, the first one I commonly see is going to be basically just that a DLC should not be nominated for Game of the Year, no matter how good, which is totally fair. It is Game of the Year, not DLC and Game of the Year. Now, setting aside my own personal feelings about Shadow of the Erdtree, it is a DLC at the end of the day. It's a fantastic one that adds a lot of value to an already amazing game that took home Game of the Year in 2022, but it is still a DLC. The other common argument that I see is that Elden Ring already got its Game of the Year, so its DLC shouldn't be able to be nominated, which I also understand. While to my knowledge there's no rule stating otherwise, I think it would feel a little strange to see a game win Game of the Year twice, one of those times being 2 years after it was released. Now, whether you fall to one side or the other, there's no denying that both sides of the argument have some merit to their defense. In terms of my own personal opinion, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care that much. No matter how much support or opposition it has, no matter how I personally feel about it, Shadow of the Erdtree still holds the nomination, and that's not going to change. I do think, though, that in the end, this will at least probably cause some evaluation and maybe even an official standing as to whether or not DLCs can qualify for Game of the Year. Now for the inevitable question. Do I think it will win? As mentioned in the beginning of the video, no. No, I honestly don't think it'll win. It's not a matter of the quality of the DLC, because in case I didn't make it clear enough already, I absolutely loved every second of playing Shadow of the Erdtree. No, the reason that I don't think Shadow of the Erdtree will win is simply due to the controversy surrounding it. We've already talked about the arguments and counter-arguments, though from what I've seen online, it does seem like the opposition to it is weighing out the support for it by a bit. I'm sure that plenty of people will probably set aside their own personal feelings and vote for something else simply out of principle. Does that mean that there's no chance of Shadow of the Erdtree winning? Of course not. I could be absolutely wrong, and the silent majority might vote for Shadow of the Erdtree, or they might not. The controversy could also possibly have the opposite effect, and Shadow of the Erdtree may win simply out of the idea that it would be interesting for a DLC to win Game of the Year. Like I said though, personally, my money is on Wukong or maybe Balatro, but at this point it does seem like it is anyone's game. No pun intended there. Regardless of whether or not you support or oppose Shadow of the Erdtree, regardless of whether or not I'm right or wrong about my prediction, I just hope to see a good show. I also hope to see some good announcements and reveals and whatnot, because, I don't know, 2024 feels like it wasn't a super incredible year for gaming. Like, it wasn't bad, I don't know. It just felt, meh. But I do wish all of those nominated the very best of luck, and I encourage you to go vote for who you think should win Game of the Year. After you're done voting, come on back here and share your thoughts and predictions in the comments. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that this little hobby, passion, or even career for some of us that we all enjoy can put on something like an awards show to begin with. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my socials so that if I am wrong, you can be the first to hit me with an I told you so. Okay, well I think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, don't forget to go vote for Game of the Year, and I will catch y'all in the next one.